Hello, I'm Susan King. I'm the Dean of the School of Journalism and Mass Communication here at UNC Chapel Hill with the great pleasure to welcome back one of our stars, Jacqueline Charles. Jackie is what we like to call you.
Yes.
Welcome.
Thank you so much for having me. It is so wonderful to be back here at Carolina.
Well, we're thrilled to have you as one of our Women in Media Leadership Series guests, but we didn't want to lose the opportunity to spend some time just talking about journalism today and being able to make it not only as a reporter at a great regional newspaper, but as a reporter who's also covering the world. Wow.
Yes. I mean, being at the Miami Herald is wonderful, and the fact that the Miami Herald still believes in foreign correspondent, bringing the world to our readers, that's huge, because the challenges that newspapers around the country are have undergone, and a lot of them have cut back on their foreign coverage.
Now, of course, I think of Miami as an international city now, so they realize that's part of what they need to do for the readers, right?
Oh, definitely. For us at the Miami Herald, I cover Haiti in the English-speaking Caribbean, and for us, those regions, as well as Cuba, Venezuela, these are local stories for us. These are local stories. I mean, in Haiti, in Miami, we often say about Haiti is that when Haiti sneezes, Miami catches a cold. Yeah. So basically, you see things happening there in both places, and you have to bring that to your readers, both Haitians and non-Haitians, because there's a lot of interest in what's happening in our region.
So there's an investment made on the part of your ownership to have a reporter who's covering that world. But are you feeling the pressures of all the kind of changes going on in the business, either personally as a reporter or because of the corporate ownership or the newspaper itself?
Oh, definitely. You feel the pressures, you feel the change. I have to tell you, in the last couple of years, we've lost, dozens of journalists, very good journalists. And I find myself on assignment. Sometimes I am my own photographer. I am also taking an Adderall because I am doing radio as well. And sometimes you're also doing video. You're doing a full package. I can think of a number of stories just recently where on the front page, I had the front page story, I had the front page photograph, and I had the video to go with it. And I also tweet, social media. But this is what the business is about today. And that's what I like to tell students, is that you have to be versatile. You have to be able to do these things, but you also have to be able to do something well. And I still believe in the fundamentals of journalism. I still believe in great storytelling and strong writing. I want to emphasize that the most, because you still have to be able to tell a good story and to write a good story.
Journalism is journalism, no matter what the medium, right?
Exactly. And even, we're struggling right now in our business with quote-unquote bloggers, right? Mm-hmm. And so everybody's a journalist, but no, everybody isn't a journalist, because there's a reason why journalism schools exist. There's a reason why you do internships, you go and get OJT, and you learn how it's done. You learn how not to libel somebody, how to fact check, how to get the story, how to interview people, and all of these are important. So as we're changing and we all are feeling the changes, there's still the basics that keep you motivated, keep you excited, and it's always about that next story.
Well, and I find a lot of energy coming out of the things that I see that you are doing. I want to brag one. You got 25,000 followers on Twitter.
Yes, I do.
That's more than some newspapers have as readers, right?
Yes, I do. And what I find is whenever, especially with Haiti, whenever there's something that's happening, my readership, it grows. Wow. People want to know. And so when I'm on the ground and there's a breaking story, I tweet out the breaking story. And it almost becomes sort of like the social media cliff notes. People are able, instead of watching television, they're reading my tweets, and they are able to get a sense of what's happening on the ground. And, I've had incidents where I actually learned that there is a limit to how many tweets you can do a day. I got shut down at one point. I was covering a legislative session, and it was quite interesting. I was like, oh my gosh. But yes, I do have a following, and it's great. But it's because it says that people are interested. They're interested in the subject matter. We're coming on 5 years after the Haitian earthquake. A lot of the world has moved on. We've got the situation in the Middle East. We've got things happening in Africa. And a lot of people have forgotten about Haiti. But what I want to say with our coverage at the Miami Herald is Haiti is still there. There's still a lot of issues. There's been progress, but there's still a very long road ahead. And we're going to be there to chronicle that.
So I want to tease apart just a little bit Twitter? Because many people think, oh, that's superficial, or it's social media, or it's not serious. Yet when you've got 25,000 followers on it and you are using it as a medium, you're as serious about that as a reporter as what you're writing later for perhaps the newspaper, right?
Exactly, you have to be. You know, and I know that there are a lot of school of thoughts out there with Twitter, and I believe that my followers are there because they want to know news. Sometimes they want to know my opinion. I'm a journalist. I don't have an opinion. But I like to get a conversation started. I like to have people engage. So you want to engage your followers. But do my followers necessarily want to know what I had for breakfast this morning? Some may do, but not most of them. Do they want to know what happened to me at the airport? Not really. So I try to limit that. But yes, if I'm attending an event, like recently I was at a soccer game or I'm at a Caribbean festival, and I will tweet about what's happening there because there are also people that are interested. So I think of it as people who are interested in things about and on the Caribbean, or all things Caribbean. And so what I like to tell reporters, and especially young reporters, it's about branding. You become this brand, right? And you have to protect your brand. And social media is so unforgiving. It stays out there. And so you have to be very careful. And also when I tweet, I also often do it in the same way as if you can take that tweet and put it in a feed for a story.
Right.
So you also want to fact check a lot of things also. So some people say I have a personality on Twitter. I'm not exactly sure. You know, I try to be a little bit engaging. I do tweet in Creole sometimes. You know, there's some things that you can get away with saying in another language, but you also have to be careful. But it is a very useful tool, and I do believe in that tool, in social media in general, because that is where we are today.
Now, we didn't teach you that because, of course, it wasn't around when you were an undergraduate here. Yeah. How'd you learn?
You know, it's interesting. I was a mentor during a high school journalism workshop at University of Miami. It's a Dow Jones journalism workshop for high school students, similar to what Carolina does during the summer with the Chuck Stone students. And one of my teachers, you know, he says, oh, there's this thing called Twitter. I'm like, really? He's like, yes. And so he basically registered me. And at the time, UM had a professor who was into social media. He was like the social media guru. And we talked about this. So in giving these high school students a session, I then got indoctrinated. It was there. I really didn't use it that much. I was more of a Facebook user. And then in 2008, 4 back-to-back hurricanes hit Haiti. And I'm heading to the final storm. I'm talking to the desk, and they said, we need a feed. We need to get something online. And, you know, do you have a Twitter account? Yes. And so it was easier for me to tweet and then pull the information off of Twitter than trying to call, be on the phone, trying to stay safe to get to where this disaster is. And basically, that's how it started. And then right like that, boom, my followers started growing. And then the earthquake happened, unfortunately, a couple of years later. And what I have found now, the trend is that, you know, we have a ex-president, former dictator, comes back. Oh, okay, I'm on the ground. I'm following that. People want to know. And they are following the tweets. So they feel connected to the story even before it goes online, even before it hits the print product.
Isn't that amazing? And the irony of this is your experience, particularly covering this story, and everyone says it's your story, you know, Haiti and all its elements. You're feeling, at a time when people are saying journalism may be dead, more hunger for news because you're able to feed people information in many more ways, right?
Oh, yes. I mean, I'm still hopeful. I still believe in journalism. It still exists. It's still relevant. I mean, what you are finding is that the more and more, you know, certain outlets get it wrong with breaking news because this need to be there to do it quickly, and then they have to go back and clarify the facts, or they don't. People still want to read that story the next day and see what the Miami Herald wrote, what did the New York Times say, what did the Washington Post say about that. I do not feel that, you know, we're going to wake up tomorrow and journalism is going to be a thing of the past. We are still very much relevant. We have to just be innovative, and I think that we still have to stick to our core values and our basics on getting the facts, getting them right. That's the challenge that you have in a newsroom today, right? You have a breaking news story. You have to feed the beast. You have to get on Twitter. You have to get on social media. You also have to get something up online. While in the process, you're still reporting out that story. You're still trying to figure out, were there 2 people or 3 people on that plane when it crashed? You know, the vanishing plane the other day. I was working on that story at my desk, you know, and we are doing all of this, but we're still trying to confirm the facts. And that is where you have to be very careful, and you still have to be transparent. Because if you got it wrong, it was still out there, it was out there, it's going to be out there, but somewhere you need to come back and say, by the way, a previous version of this story said this, we have now clarified it, and here's what it is.
I think the coin of the realm for journalism has always been about trust between the readers and the organization, the newspaper, the television station. Yes. Now it's with you because it's your Twitter account, you know. Do you feel that that it is a moment where accuracy, et cetera, builds the trust, and that is a question from the audience?
Oh, yes, it does. You know, and in what I cover, sometimes a story will break in Haiti because the Haitian media, I mean, they are on top of things. And they always have their little spin, but you know, something will happen. And so I have my readers, my followers who are outside of Haiti, and they're waiting for the confirmation, for the verification. And then they'll say, oh, but Jacqueline Charles hasn't written about that yet. And little do they know that sometimes you're juggling 10 things, or when I'm going to tackle this story, I'm just not going to get it in the paper like this. I need to do reporting. I need to dot all of the I's, cross all of the T's. I need to get that document. I need to get that confirmation. And then when you see that story finally hit, you can know that there's been a lot of reporting. Even if there's only 5 people that are quoted in the story, there probably were 15 people who were, you know, interviewed for that story. And so we call that enterprise reporting, right? But that is what builds the trust. That's what builds your credibility. That's what builds your brand and keeps you relevant and keeps people hopefully coming back to that particular newspaper, that particular writer, and saying, give me more, tell me more.
And what's amazing is you've won some amazing awards. I mean, to be the International Journalist of the Year from NCB, National Association of Black Journalists, then the Journalist of the Year the next year. But the one that made you most proud was being a nominee and a finalist for the Pulitzer. And you also won an Emmy for the video. But
yes.
This Pulitzer piece, that must have been pretty amazing.
It was amazing. You know, I do this work and I don't think about the awards. I mean, I think a lot of people, they're like, really? You know, because they think, oh, I want to be a Pulitzer Prize, winning journalist. I want to do good work. I want to do good journalism. I hope that a story that I've written or a topic that I've covered, that it has changed somebody's life. It has made an impact. It has made somebody say, let me think about that. You know, I wake up in the morning and I say, I wonder about, and the next thing I do, I am basically formulating a nut graph about that. Where else do you get to do that? You know, take that natural curiosity you have and basically get to share it with this wider audience. But yes, the awards are very nice. I mean, with the National Association of Black Journalists, these are, a lot of them are my friends. They started with me. We went to college. We came out together. We have gone through the changes in this business. So to be feted by them, to be honored was such a huge deal. Yeah. And being a Pulitzer Prize finalist, especially at the Miami Herald, where we've won so many Pulitzer Prizes, and to think about all that went into our coverage, of the earthquake and everything. And yeah, and it was the first year that the Pulitzer did not name a winner in that category. It was quite astonishing.
Yeah, maybe they tripled. But a finalist, that's something. Now, the other, I loved reading that they said, fearless is an overused word unless you're talking about Jackie Charles. How are you so fearless? Because you've covered some really difficult stories, death, destruction, yes. Riots, etc., political upheaval. How do you keep yourself focused and handling all that emotional pull?
I think the key word is focused. The key word is focused. That drive, that journalistic adrenaline rush for a good story. I often say, if I have to think about it, then you're not going to do it, right? So it's interesting. Today is the 10th anniversary of the Cayman Islands, what they call their 911, and it was the Hurricane Ivan 10 years ago. And I remember I was in Jamaica, and I was covering a storm in Jamaica. Ivan had passed through Jamaica. It went through Grenada, then Jamaica. And I had an editor, my metro editor at the Miami Herald at the time, says, you need to get to the Cayman Islands. I'm like, but I'm in Jamaica. It doesn't work that way. I know on a map it looks very close, but this is the Caribbean. We have to go through Miami to go next door. I don't care. You need to get to the Cayman Islands. We need to be at the Cayman Islands. And I am just this adrenaline rush. Your boss has said this. You're thinking, if I don't get this story, I'm going to get fired. Something's going to happen. And working the phone, working your sources, and I find out that there's a flight that's going to go, a relief flight. Next thing I know, I'm in Montego Bay for that night because I'd been in Kingston. I am on this flight with this guy. He tells me that he just only recently got his license. As we are about to blind land because all of the control towers are down and no one could direct him on how to land this plane. And it must have been like an 8-seater that had been turned into a 2-seater, himself, myself, me and him. And I was like, with all these supplies, I was like, okay. And so we landed safely. And I had my passport, and at this point, the Cayman Islands did not want any foreigners, any foreign journalists. They did not want people to tell how bad it was. So I walk out, you know, I was born in the Turks and Caicos, so I still have my Turks and Caicos passport. I just kind of flashed the red passport, just like the British red, and they just let me go. And then later on, they find out that I'm on this island, and they are chasing me all over to get rid of me. And all I keep thinking about is, I've got to get this story. I've got to get this story. So you have to stay focused. You just stay focused on what is the goal, what is it you want to do, and then you go after it. And then afterward, I'm like, did I do that? What was I thinking? I was always the one who would go up in the helicopter whenever a hurricane was coming. I'm the helicopter girl. I would go up, and then we would go and see how the wind was, you know, how far the storm may be away. So nobody else in the office wanted to do it.
Fearless, for sure. Last thing, you see yourself being a reporter 20 years from now?
It's an interesting question. There are some of my editors and mentors would like to see me go into editing. I've worked with student journalists, and I like it. I still like reporting. I think that it doesn't matter where you are, what newspaper, what television station. It doesn't matter, you know, the city, the town. As long as there are good stories to tell and you're enjoying the stories, you're enjoying the beat. That's when you know, when you stop enjoying it, when you no longer get that thrill out of that particular story, because it really is about the next story, you know, then you say, okay, now I need to hang it up. But for now, I'm still enjoying it. I am still loving it. I still believe in it. I still wake up in the morning and say, I wonder about, and let me figure out how to take this and turn this into a story and tell readers about that.
Fearless Jackie Charles, thanks for being with us.
Well, thank you for having me.
You'll make that next opportunity.
Hopefully it'll be a good one, right?
Absolutely.